ni Tech na Msangi ya jishinde.com.
Hello everyone, my name is Isaac Kiptoo and I'll be taking you through integration to Dynamics 365 BC using some of the popular programming languages. So in this video, we'll be looking at integration to 365 BC using a programming language called Go. So this video is part of a 4-part series on integration to Dynamics 365 using 3 programming languages, namely Go, Python, and C#. So you might ask yourself, what is Go? So Go is a programming language created by Google, and they borrowed some of the concepts from C++, C, and Python in terms of how it operates, its efficiency, memory management, and even you might notice some syntax in Go that looks like Python. So the reason I chose Go as the first sort of programming language to do the video on is because it's really efficient. It's a really efficient programming language, and it's really simple. It's really readable. You can look at some of the sample here. So it's a really fun and exciting programming language. So let's get straight into it. So if you don't already have Go installed on your computer, you'll want to click this download button here. So the download button, it will load a downloads page really, and you'll choose which version you're downloading, or which you're downloading for which operating system. You have Windows, Apple, macOS, Linux, and others. So since I'm using Windows, I'll just go with Windows. I'll click on that. So that will download a file. So I'd already downloaded it, so I'll just go straight to setting it up. Okay, so once you have Go installed on your computer, the next thing you want to do is create a project, a Go project. So to do that, just right click and on this part say new, then new folder. Call it something like lab 3 or a name of your own, something of your choosing. Then go inside that folder, then up here type cmd, which will open a command prompt on that specific folder that's pointed to that specific folder. So there you want to say Go mod init, then the name of the project. Let's call it something like lab 3 or something of that sort, then enter. So what this does is if you go back to this folder, you can see that it has a new file now. It's a go.mod file. So after that, you want to open this folder on VS Code or any IDE of your choosing. So I choose to use VS Code because it's a common IDE and it's common with BC developers. So open folder. So on this, I'll just paste that folder there, the path, then open, and it will open that folder on VS Code. So it's just like opening a BC folder literally. After opening up the folder, you want to create a new file. So here I'll right click, then say new file. I'll call it main.go. So after that, you want to start coding now. So I'll just name the package main. Then I'll go to creating the main function. Call it main. So I call it main because it's the main, it's the sort of first entry point. When the application is run, it goes into this function. So I'll just print out a basic hello world. So I'll write hello BC developer. So that's okay. So to run this file, there's two options, two ways of doing it. The first one, the easy one actually, I'll show you, is click on this button that says run code here, and that will run this file, the Go file, the code. So you can see here it has printed out hello BC dev. The second way, which is a bit complicated, I find with most developers, is opening up a terminal. So like on this, we'll say like go build. So this will build an exe file. Then if you say dir, you can see the lab3.exe here. Then just run the lab3. So that's the second way of doing it. On this next phase of the tutorial, we'll be setting up BC to be ready for integration. So the first thing we'll do is create a code unit. Then the second is create a web service that points to that code unit, or that exposes that code unit. So I'll work with two assumptions on this phase. The first is that you've already set up BC on your computer, and you have an instance running. So like for me here, I have an instance called BC200, and it's running, and it's ready for development. The second one is that you already have VS Code installed on your computer, and you've already opened a BC project or BC folder. So like for me here, I have a BC project called Dynamics Integration, and these are the objects so far. So I have only one code unit. It's called Hello World. It just has one function or one procedure. It's called say hello. So the thing I'll want to do now is create a new object, a new code unit. So I'll just say new file, then I'll choose code unit here. It will pick the next object ID from this. So the object name, I'll call it basic math. That's the name of the code unit. Then it doesn't have any source table, and it doesn't implement any interface. So on this, I'll just say finish. So this will create the code unit, and you'll have an empty code unit. It doesn't have any procedure so far. So the thing you'll want to do is want us to do like a function that takes into parameters, adds them, and returns the value. So I'll just call the function something like sum. So procedure sum, and it returns an integer. The name of the integer is result. Then begin end. It takes into parameters. We'll call it maybe first and second. So that's first and second. So inside here you want to say like result is equal to first plus second. So just something simple like this. So the point of this video, this tutorial really is not to complicate things, but just to make it as simple enough that you can understand and not get lost in the thick of it. So once you have this code unit called basic math, it has a function called sum. So maybe sum is a reserved name. Call it sum2, something like that. Then you can pick the object ID here and just publish. So once you have the code unit ready, the next thing is to create the web service. So and point that web service to the code unit. So I'll just come to this web environment, the 365 BC web client, and click on this search here. Then type web services. So click on web services under lists. So this will give you a list of all the web services that are currently present on that environment. So just say new here, then choose code unit, since it's a code unit you're pointing to, then enter the object ID for that code unit. You have here, it has suggested basic math. Just click that, then give it a name. So it's always advisable that the name doesn't have spaces. So just put the name here and remove the space, and click published, check published rather. So what this does is if you say reload, you should see the SOAP URL here for this web service. So let me just see that. So since it's a code unit, you can find it under code unit here. So then the service name, and you can open the SOAP URL. So it will ask for some authentication. So just enter the username and the password for using that in that environment. So here you can see the name of the function you created, or the procedure. It's called sum2. So since I'm working on a virtual environment, I'll want to put the IP for that environment. So once you have that, I can just copy this and open SOAP UI. Once SOAP UI opens up or loads, you'll notice a button here that says new SOAP project. So click on that, then give the project a name. So give it a name like lab3, then the initial WSDL. So on this, you need to enter the URL for the web service. So you can see here the URL, and so this is the one that you copied from the web environment, and then just say OK. So this will request for authentication credentials. So just enter the username and then the password. So these are the same ones that you entered on the browser a while ago. So what after that, you'll notice here that you'll have a list of the functions. So you have sum2, and you have a sample request on that as well. So on this sample request, you have the name of the first parameter and the name of the second parameter, first and second. And you have a question marks here, just telling you that you need to enter something there. So the first thing you'll need to do is set up authorization for this. I'll just use NTLM, that's what I'm using. Then username and password. So username, I'll enter the same as it was what I just entered. Then I need to change this. So just one thing to notice is if you send a wrong sort of if you send wrong data on parameters. So for example, this one is a wrong type because it should be an integer, but it's a question mark. It will give you some descriptive errors. So this is the good thing about this as well. It describes the errors for you, and you can easily debug and get yourself out of a fix. So I'll just pass like 4 on the first parameter and 5 on the second parameter. So I'll save that. I'll just send that request, and you can see the return value here is 9. So that's the return value for this operation. So it's summing 4 plus 5. An interesting thing to note is if you come back here and change that the relation of the operation now is a multiplication, and you deploy. Just a moment as it deploys. That's okay, so it has deployed. So if you come back again and send the request, so you'll notice that the return value is 20 because it's 4 times 5. So that's something to note, that for any new changes you'll have to redeploy. So I'll just change that back for the function to make sense, since it's a sum. It's a sum of two numbers. So the only thing that I think SOAP UI achieves with you is you get to see the request and you get to see the response, the structure of the request and the structure of the response. So the next phase of it is taking it now to Postman. So here the first thing is you take the URL, come to Postman, and on this add a request. So the type of request you can get from SOAP UI as well. So this is a post here. You can see here it says post, and it's posting to this URL. On this, just paste that and choose post. Then the headers. So for the headers, you might want to hide some because there are some Postman auto-generated headers. So just you can hide those. Then you can choose bulk edit. So because this one is you'll want to copy it from SOAP UI as they are. So the one you need here is SOAP action. Then paste that there, and key value edit. You can see there's a header called SOAP action, and the SOAP action is just the name of the function here, like sum2 in this case. So that's that. Then the body, you are sending XML data, so just choose row, then choose XML here. Then you can copy the body directly as it is on this side. You can copy this and paste there, then you can send. So if you say send, you'll notice that you're getting for one unauthorized because you have not specified the authentication credentials for this request. So the type, you'll say NTLM or basic if you're using basic. So let me just enter the username there, then the password, then send. So if you have like a domain environment, if you're in a domain environment, you can enter the domain here as well. Yeah. So if you send that, then you have the return value here. So Postman is able to do the same thing as SOAP UI. So what Postman affords you, or what Postman gives you in advantage, is that it generates the code for the request on the request for you. So for example, on this you have all these languages that you can just select, and you'll see the request in that language. So in our case, since we are doing Go, I'll just choose Go here, the native Go, and you should be able to see like a whole program of Go that has that request. So I'll just copy the whole of this and go back to our VS Code environment. So when you open VS Code, you'll notice that you have this code or this project that you had opened up, and here we had just written one line that said hello BC dev. So I think we'll just delete all of that and paste what we got from Postman. So one thing with Go code is concatenation, string concatenation. So if you have more than one line, the best way to concatenate is to use this character here. It's called a tilde character, the one below the escape key. So since this is the same content as the body on the Postman, I think I'll just delete this and bring in the content from Postman. So I go to Postman, then copy the body and paste it here. So this is it here. You can just do some formatting to make it look a bit more presentable. So this is it. So with this, it's okay, but it can run. But you notice that if you run it, it's blank. It will give you a blank because of authentication. It will get an error 401 which is unauthorized. So upon running, you'll just get a blank here. So to sort that out, since you're using NTLM, there's a package called NTLM SSP. So just Google Golang NTLM. Then there's this one here by Azure, Go NTLM SSP. So just copy this part from GitHub till the end. So once the terminal is open, just go get, then paste that URL, github.com Azure, then the name of the repo is Go NTLM SSP. So enter on that, then go back to what this will do. What this command does open a terminal. It fetches this repository or this dependency and adds it to your project. So you can use it now. So you can also copy the code, like the sample code on GitHub for this library or this package. So you copy that, then bring it to VS Code. You can paste it right after the body. So you'll notice some errors with the URL. Really no error, but URL, since you've already defined it, you can just remove that. Then this has some default username password, but you can change that. So then enter the password. So that's the password that I have for that environment. So you'll notice that it complains here undefined NTLM SSP. So just copy that and have it here on the imports. And once you save, that should go away. That error should go away. That's okay. So client here is complaining because you've already defined it. So you can just delete that. But actually this is doing a post request, so this is what you'll need. So you can just replace this line here. So that should be okay, except on this part of client do, which you can delete this the first one. So the code is okay now. So with this, the administrator, then the password, and that's the URL. You're doing a post request with this data, and so this is the actual line where the magic happens, where the request gets sent. So this is just a preparation, adding NTLM headers to that request. Then you close the body and you read what was in the body. Then on this, let me just run. Let me just remove that empty line. So this sends the request, and you can see here the response. So you can just format this XML formatting. So if I paste it here and beautify, you can see the return value of 9 on that. So you've successfully managed to send a request from Go, and you've sent it to Dynamics 365 BC. So just to make sure you're okay, you can just play around with these values. 7, this could be something like 48, should give a result of I think 55. So if you run that again, you'll get a result of 55 return value. So given that you already have the response and you can access the response value, one thing you might want to do is isolate the response. So if you have the XML, let me just create a file here and show the XML file. So response.xml. Let me copy the contents. So this is the content. Let me format it so you can see it clearly. So since you have this as the return value, and so you want to isolate this return value because all these are really not that important to you. What you need is what's inside this tag of return value. So in this case, there's a package that you use for reading the XML. So I just got this from one of my projects, so I hope you don't mind if I copy this and run it on the terminal. So I'll open the terminal and just paste this here. So go get that. So the package is called XML query, and it's this is the repository. It's by and chfx. So if you press enter on that, it will just get that package and install it on your project. So once you have that, then there's another piece of code I got from one of my projects that you can copy. So it's this one here. I'll just explain to you what it does in a few. That's okay. So it uses this package called XML query, and it passes that string, this one here, that's read from the body, and so it passes that and finds this one, this return value, tag called return value. So it's this one here, return value. So since it's the only one, you could go on and maybe use the X path to find this value, but since it's the only value, you can just say find one. You're passing the doc, so this is the document from the XML string. Then you are reading it now. So inner text is what's inside that tag here. So that's okay. So I think we can run that now. Let me just add some text here. Response from BC, that, and comment this. Okay. So since we have that, let me just run it. So response from BC 55. So that's the basic way of doing it really. Since you have you're getting what's inside the return value. So response from BC 55. Another thing that we could try to do, though I'm out of time, is just do something really interesting here. Is to use JSON response. So on this, I'll just change the value of this to text. Then I'll declare like JSON object. I don't mind the name of the variables. So that's the variable there. And then jo dot it's under variables. So jo dot add so this sorry about the double quotes. So result. So just create another value, another like variable, call it total. It's an integer. So since result is now a text, just put that there. Then result gives us the total. OJO dot write to result. Sorry about that. So that's gone. That's published. I can run it again, and you should see some JSON here. Yeah, you should see some result here. So that's that. So let me just add a new file here, JSON, then format it. But it's really just a simple JSON here. So result 55. So that's how sort of you can interact with it. You can add some JSON, you can add some like even more complicated JSON. You can do things even for the parameters, you can pass JSON there. So that's really how much you can extend that. So that's just on the prospectus. For that, I'll leave it to you. If you can achieve that, then that's good for you. That's good for your project. So thank you for watching this video. I know it's been a really long video, and I hope to see you on the next video, and happy coding. Have fun. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so that you don't miss the next one.